stop what you are doing right now, because what you are about to hear was spoken centuries ago by people who had never seen a skyscraper, a factory, a nuclear weapon, or a social media platform. And yet, what they described, in precise detail, matches the world you are living in today, so exactly that when you finish this video, you will not be able to explain it away. These are not vague spiritual statements that could mean anything. These are specific warnings, specific predictions, specific descriptions of what would happen to the land, the water, the sky, and the people of North America if a particular path was chosen. The path was chosen. And here we are. Before we go any further, I want to be very clear about something. The prophecies we are discussing today come from specific Native American nations: the Hopi, the Lakota, the Anishinaabe, the Cherokee, and others. And they were not written down in the way that Western civilization writes things down. They were carried in the oral tradition, spoken from elder to apprentice across generations with extraordinary precision, because in cultures where oral transmission is the primary means of preserving knowledge, the accuracy of transmission is treated with the same seriousness that Western civilization treats the accuracy of a legal document. These prophecies were not invented yesterday. They were not written after the events they describe in order to claim prediction. They were documented by anthropologists and researchers decades before the events they describe came to pass. And they are still being transmitted today by the elders of the nations that carry them, with an urgency that has only increased as the world outside the reservation has begun to look more and more like what the prophecies described. Let us start with the Hopi. The Hopi people of what is now Arizona are among the oldest continuously inhabited communities in North America. Their civilization has existed on the same land for more than 1,000 years, and they carry a body of prophecy that their elders describe as the most important knowledge they possess. The Hopi prophecies describe a series of what they call Gourd of Ashes events, explosions so powerful that they shake the earth and poison the land and water for generations. The elders who first documented these prophecies in the early 20th century had never seen an atomic bomb. The term Gourd of Ashes, a dried gourd shaken to create destruction on a massive scale, was the closest language available in their tradition to describe what they had been told was coming. In 1945, the first nuclear weapon was detonated in the New Mexico desert, approximately 300 miles from Hopi land. The Hopi elders did not call this a coincidence. They called it a confirmation. But the Gourd of Ashes was not the prophecy that concerns them most today. The prophecy that Hopi elders have been speaking about with increasing urgency in the 21st century is what they call the prophecy of the spider web that circles the world. They described a time when invisible lines of communication would stretch from every corner of the earth to every other corner, when people would speak to each other across distances that should make speaking impossible, when the flow of words and images would be so constant and so overwhelming that people would lose the ability to sit in silence. This is where we belong. When the world would be connected by something invisible that carried both knowledge and poison in equal measure. The internet is approximately 30 years old. The smartphone is approximately 20 years old. The Hopi described what sounds unmistakably like global digital communication networks centuries before the first telegraph wire was strung between two American cities. Now, let us talk about water. The Lakota, the people of Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse, carry a prophecy that their elders have been repeating for generations. The prophecy says that a time will come when the water turns black, when the rivers that the people have always depended on become poisoned, when the sacred relationship between the human being and the water they drink is broken by human choices made in pursuit of something that glitters in the ground. In 2016, the Standing Rock Sioux tribe stood at the Missouri River and said, This pipeline will poison our water. This is not a political statement, they said. This is a prophecy being fulfilled in real time. We have been told this was coming for generations.
The Cherokee prophecy said the rains will come.
Across North America today, over 2,000 indigenous communities have active water quality advisories. Some of those advisories
this was the
have
largest
been in place
gathering
for
of
decades.
nations in over a century.
The water
they stood
that people
together
in Canadian
defense
and
of the
American
water.
cities
True
assume is clean.
learning to listen to
The water
earth.
that flows
We
from
must
taps in
remember that
places
old knowledge
nobody
still
has heard
guides us
of,
today.
on reservations that do not appear on tourist maps, is in many cases not safe to drink. The prophecy of the Blackwater described this, not as something that might happen, as something that would happen when a specific path was chosen. That path was chosen. The water is black. The Cherokee carry a prophecy about the trees. The great forest that once covered the eastern half of North America. A forest so vast and so ancient that the first European explorers reported being able to travel for weeks through unbroken canopy, is gone. 90% of the original old-growth forest of North America has been cleared since European settlement began. The Cherokee prophecy said that when the trees fall, the sky will change, that the air itself will become different,
the Blackwater
that the relationship between the land and the sky that has sustained life for millions of years will be disrupted by the removal of the trees that mediate between Earth and atmosphere. We now call this climate change. The science that describes it is extraordinarily
so the
complex.
light-skinned people stand at the fork in the
Cherokee
road.
described its
They must
essential
choose
mechanism
wisely
centuries
now,
ago.
for the prophecies
Remove
foretold
the trees,
this moment.
and the balance between land and sky is broken. The sky changes. The weather becomes unpredictable. The seasons arrive in the wrong order. The rains come when they should not, and stay away when they are needed. Look at the weather in 2026. Tell me the Cherokee were wrong. The Anishinaabe, the people of the Great Lakes region, carry one of the most specific and most widely
not in the
cited
numbers of 60
all Native
million,
American prophecies.
but they have returned.
It is called the Seventh Fire Prophecy, and it has been transmitted through their oral tradition for centuries. The Seventh Fire Prophecy describes the history of the Anishinaabe people in 7 chapters and 7 fires.
This fire
Each fire
restores the land.
representing a period of
Brings back
Anishinaabe
our
history.
native grasses. We must
The
protect the
first
watershed.
6 fires described
This data
events that
shows
have
the direct
already
impact.
occurred.
A new path
The
is
arrival of the light-skinned people, the disruption of traditional life, the near destruction of the language and
Every
the ceremonies.
voice matters in this circle.
Each of those 6
This
fires
is how
has
we
been
begin
fulfilled,
to heal.
documented
Let us-
by Anishinaabe elders as confirmed by the events of the last 5 centuries. We are now living in the period described by the 7th fire. The 7th fire prophecy says this: there will come a time when the light-skinned people will have a choice to make. They will find themselves at a fork in the road. One path will be well-worn and easy to travel. The other path will be new and covered in grass, difficult and uncertain.
How do
The
we
7th
find that
fire
new
says
path?
that if the light-skinned
walking
people choose
together.
the well-worn path, the path of continuation,
Water is
then
alive
the
and it is
destruction of the
sacred.
earth will be assured. But
Thank
if
you
they
for
choose the
healing
new
us.
path, if they
I
turn
take
back
only
and
what I
retrace their
need.
steps to find what was lost,
We are still here.
then the 7th
people,
fire
the river,
will light the
all
8th and
still
final
here.
fire. A fire of peace and healing for all people. The Anishinaabe elders say we are standing at that fork right now, in 2026.
This land is just beautiful.
That the choice has not
This is
yet
not
been
just a
made.
record of years, it is
That
our
it is
living
still
history.
being made
Each
by the
symbol
decisions
remembers a
of
winter.
governments and corporations and ordinary people in every moment of every day. The prophecy does not say which path will be chosen. It says only that the choice is now.
There is a prophecy from the
We are
Oglala
returning
Lakota
this
that
river
is
to its
perhaps
natural
the most
state.
haunting of all.
Salmon populations
Black
are all
elk. The Oglala Lakota holy man, whose visions were documented in the extraordinary account recorded by John Neihardt in 1932, described in his great vision a sacred tree
Let
at the
us put
center
our
of a
minds
sacred
together
hoop.
and see
The
what
tree
life
was
we can
alive
make
and
for our
flowering.
children.
Its branches
These
sheltering
children
all
are
the
what a
people
new
of the
beginning
world.
looks like.
The
They are
hoop
the point
was
of the
whole,
choice.
unbroken, representing the unity and health of all living things in right relationship with each other and with the earth. And then, in his vision, the tree began to die. The hoop broke. The people became scattered, lost, sick in spirit and sick in body.
This same ancient light has happened every day for 4.5 billion years. The prophecy says this water is threatened.
Black Elk wept,
but in this
when
dawn
he
light,
described this
it still
vision.
flows.
He wept because he believed
Healing
it had
is a
already
continuous
begun to come
choice
true
we
in
make
his
every
lifetime.
day.
He believed the broken hoop described a spiritual condition, not just a physical one. A condition in which human beings had lost their understanding of their place in the web of life, had begun to act as if they stood outside nature rather than within it.
It leads our people to the seventh fire.
As if the earth existed to serve them rather than the other way around. He described epidemic
Hold it at
loneliness,
this angle, sweetheart.
the specific kind
There,
of
you see?
loneliness that comes not
Perfect
from being
tension.
physically alone, but from being disconnected, from the land, from other people, from any sense of meaning or belonging larger than the individual self. In 2026, the United States Surgeon General has formally declared loneliness a public health epidemic. The most technologically connected civilization in human history has never been more spiritually and socially disconnected. Black Elk described
shows
this in
active flow here.
1930.
We call it the
He
place
called
of
it
returning
the broken
waters.
hoop.
It aligns perfectly.
We call it
This
the
place has
mental
been
health
home for
crisis.
over 1,000 years.
The names are different.
The light
The
falls
condition
exactly as it
is
is.
the same. I want to address something directly now because some of you are thinking it.
This
You are
land has
thinking,
seen this same
these
sunrise
prophecies
for
are vague enough to
4.5
be applied
billion
to
years.
almost anything.
And that
You
is
are
when everything
thinking,
truly changes.
People have been claiming that the end of the world is coming for as long as there have
Every
been people.
prophecy speaks of water.
You are thinking,
At the fork, we
this
must
is pattern
choose.
recognition
But which path
applied
leads to
after
the
the
water?
fact.
This is how
I
we
understand
heal.
that skepticism. It
This
is
is how we
reasonable
remember.
and it is healthy.
The land
But here
knows
is what
who
I
is
want you
taking
to
care of
consider.
it.
The
The
Hopi
difference is
prophecy
visible
of the
from
Gourd
the
of
air.
Ashes was
When
documented
the rivers
by
run
researchers
dry,
in the
the
early
ancient
1900s.
stars will guide us.
Decades
Look to the
before the
rising
Manhattan
smoke.
Project existed. The specific language of a dried gourd shaken to create destruction cannot be
Saguadu
reasonably
Nigalista.
mapped onto any weapon
Pam
or technology
Palsiwai.
that existed when it was recorded. It maps precisely onto a nuclear detonation and nothing else. The Anishinaabe Seventh Fire Prophecy describes specific sequential historical events, not
The
vague
sun
spiritual
does not know
states
about prophecies.
that have occurred in the
It simply
specific order
rises.
they were predicted
This
to
is
occur.
what cultural resilience
The
looks
arrival
like.
of specific people, the near loss of specific cultural practices, the specific timing of the period of reconsideration. These are not vague enough to apply to anything. They apply to specific events in the specific history of a specific people. And the Cherokee description
Ya
of what
nigada.
happens when the trees fall
Ya nigada.
is not a spiritual
Igali
metaphor
heliga.
about
Igali
sadness.
Heliga.
The prophecy of the black
description of a
water is
physical
being
mechanism.
addressed. One
The
restored
disruption of the
riverbank at a
relationship
time.
between forest canopy and atmospheric regulation that Western science only fully understood and documented in the 20th century. These prophecies are not vague. They are
Is
specific.
the sun. It
they
rises
have
every
been
morning,
confirmed.
regardless of
There
what
is
we
one
have
more
chosen.
prophecy I want to share with you before we close. And this one, I want you to sit with. The Hopi elders,
Ishkwa
in the same
ishkwandem,
body of teaching that described the gourd of
iskwendan
ashes
miziwe.
and the spiderweb, also describe what happens after. They describe a time of great purification. Not destruction in the sense of finality, but purification in the sense of a return to balance. A time when the earth
To understand
itself
this path,
reasserts
one
the
must
relationships
first
that
acknowledge
human
the
choices have
land.
disrupted. They say this purification is not
The
a
lake
punishment.
is still
It
here.
is
Prophecy
a
is still
correction.
unresolved.
The earth is not angry. The earth does not experience human categories like anger. The earth simply
To what is
returns to
real,
balance
to
because
what is
balance
present
is
and
what the
here.
earth does
This
when
is
the
where our new
conditions that
path
produce
begins.
imbalance are sufficiently disrupted. They say the question is not whether the purification will happen,
These mesas have been home to the Hopi people for over 1,000 years.
Which side of it we choose
They are
to be on. And they say the answer to that question is determined not by grand gestures or global agreements or institutional decisions. It is determined by the accumulation of individual choices made by individual human beings in their individual daily lives about how they relate to the water and the land and the air and the people around them. Put our minds together, Sitting Bull said, and see what life we can make for our children. The prophecies
The
do
land
not
is
end in
ancient
despair.
and enduring.
They end in a
It
choice.
receives whatever choice.
And they say the choice is still available. They say that is why the elders are still speaking.
The river moves with
Because if the
complete
outcome
indifference.
were already determined,
It was moving
there would be
before
nothing
prophecies
left
were
to say.
spoken. And
They are still speaking because they believe we can still hear them. The question is whether we will. If this gave you
the
something to think
ceremonies
about,
were conducted
if these
under the
words
sky.
landed somewhere real
The
inside you,
original flame
please
is
hit
unchanged.
like right now. Not
This
for
is
the
what the
algorithm,
elders have been
because
doing,
this
giving
knowledge
their
deserves to travel further than it
The
has.
stars still tell our
Subscribe
story.
to this channel because every
And the
week
river
we go
remembers.
deep into the
The
real
prophecies
history,
are about
the
this
real
child.
wisdom, and
Everything
the real
is in
untold
service of this
stories of
sleeping
Native
face.
American nations. The knowledge that built a relationship with this land across 10,000 years, and that this land may need us to remember now more than at any other moment in our lifetimes. Share
This
this
sunrise
with someone.
has been honored for
Not
1,000
someone who will agree
years.
with you, someone who
The
will
sun
argue
does
with
not
you.
know this.
Because the prophecies say the conversation is the point. The coming together of minds. The willingness to
This
consider
land
what
was
was
here
known
before the first
we
human
decided
set
we
foot
knew
on it.
everything is
It is here
exactly
now.
what the seventh
It
fire
will-
describes as the new path. And comment below, which of these prophecies struck you most deeply today?
A new
Tell
day
me.
over an
I
ancient
read
land.
every single
The
one.
prophecies are still being
Until
spoken.
next time, the elders
This
are
is what
still
the elders
speaking.
asked.
Are we still
Not
listening?
to be the